It's my feel-good breakfast show. Call us on your cell phone. Culinary Hotline bling. That can only mean one thing.
Welcome back. You know that sound. It's Wednesday. It's time for the Culinary Hotline. Well, it's not Wednesday, actually. It's a Friday, but we love the fact that we can do this every single day. The Culinary Hotline bling. Ting, ting, ting. Oh, guys, we're in a pickle. Zayan, welcome back.
Thank you very
The
much.
Pickling Princess.
Sure.
Is that your nickname?
Totally.
No, you own it. You own the space. Anil, you're well on your way, girl. You're well on your way. So we had a lot of fun coming to grips with fermentation and the myriad of delicious outcomes from this incredible. It starts with a simple process, but it opens up into so many awesome things that I've loved my whole life. Things like sauerkraut, a pickle. I'm a fan for a pickle. But before we move on to our next fermentation lesson, we're going to go back and check on Anel's homework. Okay, we obviously I say we very likely our team tried our hand at a couple of pickles, and Anel, you did it's kimchi or it's a kimchi and a sauerkraut. Okay,
Yeah.
And Zayan, you're going to be, should I be smiling? Should I be moving away? I'm wondering why I got put close to the jars here. I'm seeing two very different textures, colors. What's going on here? Where do we start? So how was Anel done? When did you first create these pickles?
I created that on the 6th of July. The sauerkraut. Let me bring this here.
Because you're very proud of that.
I'm very proud of this.
I
This is
can
like
see.
a baby.
Yeah.
No, Anel did very well.
That's your first child, your happy child.
And you know what happened to this child? We had it in our office, and what's very fascinating about sauerkraut that I didn't know, it burps. Remember the last time you said it burps?
At least that's her story, and she's sticking to it, okay?
And what happened? You have to keep your sauerkraut on a plate because the water came out. This water that I added
It weeps and it seeps and
Because it's a living
it's alive.
thing.
Exactly.
So
That's how it becomes alive.
So teach.
Tell
what you do.
us. Tell us.
Let's see. So first thing,
What's the first taste
we
thing?
can see by the way that it looks, it's faded to a very subtle shade of what it used to be.
Okay.
It hasn't gone off color, it hasn't gone brown, it hasn't, oxidized too much. The second thing we do is we smell it.
And you're not even doing one of those arrogant
Smells
chef
like very
smells. You're just going like,
soury.
Just gotta go in.
fancy that, eh?
It is sour.
It smells cool.
Sauerkraut.
I get it. I
So
get it.
that
It's a pickle.
smell, exactly. That's
Cool.
the smell that you want to go
But it's
for.
not
Well
overpowering.
done.
It actually,
Do you think it's well done?
my
or
mouth
is
is watering because I've enjoyed so many great, delicious dishes with sauerkraut that it's, you're well on your way. So should you be eating it at this stage? Is it all right to eat it?
Oh, my word.
And?
It's delicious.
Is that a
There we
good,
go.
can I get a bit of
So you can eat it at any stage, but remember with
And it's got some chutzpah.
that's a jalapenos, huh?
Yeah, put some jalapenos in
Yeah.
there.
So this will last until
Thank you.
You're going to store it in the refrigerator once you've started
Okay.
eating a bit more, and then it'll last for a good few
I'm going to
months.
continue on its journey of fermentation in the night, or do you kind of cap it at a point?
So generally we say if you let it ferment for about 4 weeks, then it's at its full probiotic potential.
I love that.
And then once you put it in the fridge, the metabolism will just rest a little bit, and you can keep it for as long as
You're
you
going to have
need
to keep your own little jar there in your office just to,
Yeah.
to cover up burps in the future. That's going to be like,
I want to ask a question. So I've taken the top off now, and
Yeah.
you said it needs 4 weeks. Must I do it again with
So
water?
in
how
the
do I-
situation, so we would kind of clean the sides down,
Yeah.
and then you would put that back in. So
Okay.
your technique was, some people put the cabbage leaves,
Yes.
some people have little
Yes.
sauce or something, but with the plastic and the water, that's also completely fine.
Thank you.
Close it again because you want the respiration to be low.
Okay, absolutely love it. So we'll get into in our next segment what's going on in the kimchi jar number 2. But I think you have crushed your very
did
first
it.
Thank you.
sauerkraut. Well done.
You've done it.
It's a little child. The first child is a success.
Alive and well.
absolutely awesome. If you've got any fermentation questions, you can post them on our social media platforms. We have learned a huge amount, but there's always room for more. So coming up, we're going to tackle questions from you guys related to our previous fermentation session, and get a little bit busy in the kitchen as well, create something new. And of course, we're going to catch up with the kimchi, and we're also going to make our very own ketchup. And I will be the official taster, which makes me a little bit nervous.
It's my feel-good breakfast show. Call us on your cell phone. Culinary Hotline bling. That can only mean
You gotta move at least one part of your body Mainly because the realization that when I said it's Wednesday earlier and everyone's like heart started palpitating, it's actually a Friday. And the joy is we have now introduced more culinary hotlines because we love the culinary hotline bling.
Ting, ting, ting!
So much, especially when Zayan is here creating all sorts of, you're like an apothecary, creating magic. I can't believe I was able to say that word. Last week, obviously, we started our knowledge in fermentation. And Anel, you've done good, girl. You've done a really, really great job. So we're going to move on to right now, homemade kimchi. It's spicy, it's salty, it's sour, it's delicious. Before we judge Anel's, which we'll do right at the end, don't be shy. I think you're going to surprise people. This is going to be such a cool talking point. I love creating things in the kitchen, and this gives you something that you can watch and grow and bubble and burp, apparently, and burp its way along. But it is a living thing and needs to be treated as such because we are using bacteria to create the amazing end result. So we don't have a huge amount of time. Let's dive right in and create our kimchi. You were telling me just now that it's of Korean kind of. So this is old. This is an old recipe.
This is much older than sauerkraut.
Wow.
And so we're looking at cabbage, what is now called Asian cabbage, but it's a type of cabbage that's a little bit different to the cabbage, the big round cabbage.
Yeah,
that we
it
know,
looks more lettucey than cabbagey, to be honest. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's pretty as well.
So this method is different to sauerkraut in that we create a paste with all these wonderful ingredients, and this paste is going to be what helps us ferment, as opposed with the sauerkraut where we just hoid the salt in and ground everything down with our hands.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a different method, but the same
principle
to the same outcome.
What are you doing there, Anel?
I don't know, I'm massaging this cabbage, some salt in the cabbage. Is that what I must do?
You are doing that. We're using a good quality salt, not just a gewone iodated salt, although that will work as well. Because the salt is what gives the whole thing the vuma, the superpower. So we massage the salt into the cabbage to open up those cells and just like moisten it, release some water like this one.
Is that the finished
This is the finished one. So this one, you can leave it overnight, you can leave it for a few hours, leave it even for 20 minutes. You just want the leaves to open, the cells to open up to get that flavor inside.
And there's a massive amount of moisture in something like this in a cabbage. Yeah.
Definitely. It's like vastly water. And then very simply, we'll start packing this paste inside the cabbage, gently between the leaves, and so that kind of creates this lack of oxygen. It starts sticking together and starts pushing out even more liquid.
Son, what do you make the paste of? Please explain to us.
Definitely.
That for me is important.
First of all, can I just say how funky this whole process is? It's just so cool to get stuck in like that. Awesome. So.
And Anel's not afraid. Just do it.
No. You've inspired her. Trust me. You've created a monster. Love it. Okay, so now we're going to create our paste. What are the basic ingredients?
Exactly.
Here?
So the basic ingredients, you want kind of the spicy preservation ingredients, which would be things like your ginger, garlic, onion.
Cool.
Sometimes you also add pepper. In this case, we've got gochugaru, which is a red pepper, very typical to Korea, and this is what makes kimchi that signature red. Of course, if you're making for children or you're making someone who's very sensitive to chili, you can leave that out. There's no hard and fast rule.
How strong is it?
Yeah.
And if you want to create this kimchi with us, the keyword is each to 33728. Why are you looking at me with like an evil blink?
Let's see what happens. Not so bad.
No, it's kind of like on the more peppery chili side than a.
But a lot of people can have that
habanero side of the scale, yeah.
Precisely, but because you're adding the ginger, the garlic, the onion, it becomes.
And you're
quite
giving
strong.
it time to ramp up as well. And we know this with chilies. You keep some like red hot chilies in your fridge for 2 weeks, they get hotter.
Exactly. The other thing with kimchi that's very important is you need a sweet ingredient. So in this case, we have pear. There are many different kinds of pear. You could use anything from apricots to grapes to apple, but something on the sweet side.
Something sweet to balance,
exactly, to balance the flavor. We've got some shredded daikon here, so you can use radish, you can use turnip.
Is this daikon?
This is daikon.
Cool.
It's very recent years that we've managed to get this in the city, down in Cape Town, and as well in Johannesburg. They've had it for much longer. And then some spring onion. So you can either take all of this stuff and blitz it together to make the paste, if you are vegan.
Okay.
We also have the quintessential fish sauce. Just a little bit of that. You just want to give it that extra little umami flavor.
Wow, you are starting with a complexity of flavor before you've even allowed the fermentation to take place. So this is crazy.
Winning.
What is going on
She's
here?
just winning.
This is
So
like a
now
scene
you're
from
going
Ghost. You're like getting right stuck in there. That is amazing.
Precisely, and you want to just pack it in, similar to how Anel's done last week's kimchi, similar to the sauerkraut, so that when you're at an end result, you have all this beautiful brine getting released at the bottom there.
I'm going to have a little taste of this as we prepare for our next phase. We're going to ramp it up with another amazing. We've got tomato sauce here, but there's something to drink if you're feeling a little bit parched. Can I have a little taste? Did you create this?
No,
Lie. Lie to me and say you did.
But you want to taste mine, though.
I'm going to taste yours right at the end when I've mentally prepared myself.
Do I add pears in here as well, or is it the pears in the sauce?
So to this, you can add actually whatever you wish. You could chop carrots, you could do like all kinds of things. So if we wanted more to make this fuller, we can cut up the daikon for sure.
Yeah.
We can even cut up the spring onion if we wanted to.
Oh, you're doing a fantastic. I can see how you've connected with this process, and now we're going to continue our journey through fermentation. In just a moment, you can post any questions on our social media platforms.
Definitely.
It's my feel-good breakfast show. Call us on your cell phone. Culinary Hotline bling. That can only mean one thing.
Feel it, dance, because we're pickling today. Welcome back to the Culinary Hotline. Bling, ding, ding, ding. Our favorite place once again, it's the kitchen, and we are whipping up some incredible, from kombucha to kimchi to ketchup. I had no idea. Zayan, you have opened my eyes. I have a feeling this is the way it used to be done. And we are making tomato sauce, yeah?
Definitely. Making tomato sauce.
What is the difference between this and normal tomato sauce, as you can kickstart the process right now? But what's going on?
So tomato sauce traditionally used to also be made from mushrooms before it was tomato sauce, before tomato sauce was fashionable, and before that from fish. So it's the same method, the same methodology, but it's basically fermented, it's alive, it's full of probiotic goodness, whereas the store-bought ones have been preserved. So they're not really alive, it's a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, a lot of vinegar.
And other things, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll dive right in.
Okay, so basically it's a very simple recipe, great to make with kids. You've got your tomato paste, a tin or two or a packet or two, and then you're just going to go by taste. So you're going to take we've got some cinnamon, some clove, some cayenne pepper, and some garlic. You could take some cacao powder. You could take more chili if you wanted to. You could have some mustard. Those kind of flavors. So I'm going to just scoop all of that in. I like mine quite strong, so I'm going to do like that. Even though my mother's saying that's not strong at all. And then the cinnamon, the cinnamon just gives it a nice kind of sweetness.
Because you've got the kind of balancing board here, but tomato does lend itself to being either sweet or spicy or
But
sour.
it's also got that sourness, exactly.
It can be quite acidic, so you've got a wonderful platform to launch from with this.
And what is in that little bowl
Here,
over
a
there?
little bit of salt. And so this is a brine from the sauerkraut that we made last week.
Okay.
So we've just taken a bit of the liquid, and that's going to thin it out. But this is the thing that kickstarts the fermentation. Now it's more alive. You could use yogurt whey.
Okay.
You don't necessarily
You
have
need the
to
culture.
use brine.
Got to get some culture.
This is the culture. This is the culture. Also, this helps to thin it out because this is more tomato paste. It's very vuma flavor.
I love the fact that one leads into the... I think once you start your first fermentation, then you're almost obliged to continue because everything has a byproduct that leads into the next, that leads into the next.
Absolutely.
My next project.
And this
I
is
have
so great
faith.
because it lasts so long. Now we're putting in some honey. You could put maple syrup if you're vegan. You could put coconut blossom sugar if it's low GI and you're diabetic. And that's also for to help the yeast have something to feed on. They need that sugar sweet, you know what I mean?
And the key word is tomato,
So I'll tell you what we do with
778
the
if you want to create
vinegar
this
now.
yourself.
Yeah.
So now we obviously have to taste.
Can I have a bit as
Can
well?
you give me a little... give me a hit.
Bring your
I want
thumbs
to
here.
taste this deliciousness.
So you could add more spices. You could add a lot more of everything. Onion powder if you wanted to. So let's say
I
that
like
we
the
like
sweetness.
it as it is.
I love that. I absolutely adore that.
In a sterile jar.
Oh man!
Okay.
So, as heartbreaking as it is, we have to wrap this up. So as you
Okay,
put the finishing
sure.
touches there, I'm going to taste your kimchi, please.
Ah, here we
Because
go.
you're so proud, and you felt all nervous about
You've
it at
done
the
a
beginning.
great
But
job.
I have a feeling. Excuse us.
There you go.
Got a little spice.
And
Got some zing. That is great. And I do dig a
Vinegar
pickle.
just on top for
Oh, the vinegar
all
on
the
top.
mold and fungi to chill. Put a loose lid or piece of paper or a cloth over it. Leave it for a week,
Just 1 week.
and there it's done.
So you don't stir it after you put the vinegar on top?
Yeah, you only stir it once you're ready to eat it.
Once you're
In
ready to-
3, 4, 5 days.
And that's what you'll arrive at.
And
which,
that's what you
It
get.
does taste delicious. Oh, this has been awesome. You're like a magician.
Thanks,
You
man.
know, you really are. Really is special. You're well on your way. You're the
Yeah,
magician's apprentice. We will have all of these details on our website if you'd like to kind of explore this. All of our recipes on the Espresso website are there for you to delve into this whole brave new world. Fermenting Foods 101. Thank you so much, Sayan Khan. You are a genius and have an incredible wealth of knowledge and experience. So thank you so much. And please post all of your foodie questions on our social media platforms. Don't forget to send us your photos, videos, and questions. Show us the look on your faces you're tasting. And you can join us this coming Wednesday next week, okay, for another edition of the Culinary Hotline. Bling, ting, ting, ting.